everybody. Welcome into the podcast. I am Jay, and that's Keith. Keith, good morning. How are you? Good afternoon. Where are you at? Is it afternoon?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, close enough, right?
What's happening, Jay?
Oh, not much, man. I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. As you can tell, I'm bright and I'm bright and yellow. Yeah. You see all that?
I do.
You know what that's all about? You know what that's all about?
I know that opening day in baseball was yesterday, and you decided to wear your Predators.
That's right. Whenever there's opening day in baseball, you know there's hockey playoff right around the corner. So that's where we're at. So.
Why anybody would want to play hockey during baseball season is kind of a mystery to me.
Be a Mariners fan and you'll know. So good job on the Preds, man. I mean, these guys are pretty amazing. They've pushed into the playoffs again. We've still got some games to play, so probably by the time this thing airs, we'll be rolling into the first round of the playoffs. I love the Preds. They're fantastic. What a great organization, man. I mean, out of 20 seasons, I think it is 21 seasons, they have landed a playoff berth at least 13 times.
You just made me feel old because I had a buddy with season tickets, so I was there half of his games that he went to the first couple seasons.
Oh, wow.
It does not feel like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Time flies. Nobody's who would have thought that hockey would have made it in the South, would have survived. But what a lot of people don't realize, and it kind of ties into what we do here every day talking about automotive stuff, is that, Nashville is actually a huge area for the automotive industry. There's obviously Nissan North America is now in the area.
Yep.
The big Saturn plant. GM had a Saturn plant down there when Saturn was around.
Actually still there. I think they flipped it over to an engine building plant now.
I think so, yeah. So as part of their transitions. But, why hockey worked in Nashville was because of all the transplants from Michigan and, from up north. And you've been to a Red Wings game. When the Red Wings are in town, man, it's little Detroit. You know?
Well, so as someone that grew up a Blues fan, watching the first couple seasons in Nashville, so in the North, it's almost like going out to a nice dinner. They dress up a little bit. It's a big deal. They wear their hockey jerseys and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was funny to watch sort of the Southerners that didn't quite yet understand. It was a little bit of a different etiquette. They had to sort of learn the etiquette. They get it now.
Yeah, they do. It's for anyone. I would recommend anybody who is a hockey fan, whether you're a fan of the Predators or who they might be playing that night, and hopefully it would be your team. But you should make a trek to Nashville and go see a game at Bridgestone Arena.
But public service announcement: if you are thinking of moving to Nashville and you've heard news or what a great place it is to live, we're closed. Closed.
Yeah.
No more. It's actually really bad here. There's like crime everywhere. It's like there's just it's like a third world country now. I mean, you can't, it's like you can't go anywhere without like they don't. You've heard of gang tagging? Like they'll just tag you. Like that. They've moved on from like railroad cars and stuff. It's not safe here, y'all. I'm just telling you, don't. If you're thinking about moving here, find somewhere else.
Right. Yes, I agree with you. They're overpopulated now as it is. I mean,
traffic's bad.
The infrastructure is horrible. The infrastructure is horrible. I don't know how that you can't. I don't know how you can fix that. You keep inviting all these people into the city. Here's another thing too. They keep screwing with history, man.
Okay,
that's what I don't like. Is they keep screwing with history. I saw this thing about the Ryman Auditorium, how the Ryman, they're wanting to add an outdoor stage.
Yeah.
What are you doing, people? I mean, is the stage on the inside not, sacred enough?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, the Ryman Auditorium, which was the home of the Grand Ole Opry before the current home, and they often referred to as the mother church of country music. It literally has pews in it. It's kind of a sacred. It looks and feels kind of like a church inside. I mean, there's stained glass window. It's a big historic, iconic place.
It is. Yeah. It is an old church.
But back to your question about how to solve this. So once again, we here on Parts Counter Gurus, we solve the world's problems, right? Every time we're on the air. I've got a solution to this problem, and I tell this to everybody that wants to move here. You can move here. You need to find 2 other people to move out first, and then you can move in.
That's right.
That's how we're solving.
That's right. Yep. I was there. I am not anymore.
Yeah. Well.
I'm in a remote location. In a highly remote location.
It's not too hard to figure out with all the previous. Go back and watch the previous episodes with all the different hats.
No, don't do that. Don't. No, we want you. I tell you what. Hey, here's a challenge. From this podcast, if you've not watched any of our previous podcasts, you need to go back and watch them to try to figure it out. And we want you to contact us through our website. Go to www.partscountergurus.com, and there's a place there where you can go and you can contact us. And if you know where I'm at based on the hats, then add the information in. Put it there, and we may send you a hat. So how about that? A little contest for you.
I was envisioning where the text would show up.
Oh. Okay.
It's going to be over there.
It will be?
Yeah. I know. It's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah,
Technology.
it is.
It's like, I feel like, have you seen Anchorman? Number 2?
I have. Yes.
The second one?
Yes.
You know where he's like never experienced that green screen and like my leg. That was Steve Carell, man. Yeah.
Hilarious. I want to do one of those. I want to do one of the green screens. That'll be fun.
We can.
You know what? I wanted to be a weatherman at one time.
You're too.
I really did.
You have too much pride in the outcome of your product. To be in that industry.
Yeah. Right. When you see the long-term forecast in this part of the world, and it just it's like kind of those guys are like on vacation all the time. They can just plug in the same forecast for like months and just walk away and just have a stand up.
Speaking of fixing it in post, they literally will fix it after it happens.
Oh, absolutely. So,
yeah.
Where are we at?
Didn't we just establish that where I was at?
Yeah, I know where you're at, but I'm talking about where we at in the podcast here.
I think it's time for
live from partscounterguru.com news.
Yeah, so how about some news?
So what's up?
So you got news? You said you had some news. Let's.
Well, I actually mine. Yeah, I got one topic for you. It's a piece of news. I think it's worthy.
Okay.
I actually want to have a podcast about it.
Okay.
About music, man. So, I think recently you're aware of the recent Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees who made the list.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a rundown. One of my favorite all-time rock and roll bands, and this is truly a rock and roll band. Some of these on here are not, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. How they made it in, I have no idea. Anyway, but Def Leppard being one of them. One of my all-time favorite rock and roll bands. Favorite album is High and Dry. Great one.
Oh, wow. Didn't go with Pyromania or Hysteria?
Oh, no. I like all that stuff. It's good. Mutt Lange just basically changed their
he
world.
Was behind every major headliner in the 80s. Yeah.
Absolutely. But, he really fit in well after their drummer, Rick Allen, lost his arm.
In a Corvette.
Yep. And it was
that's why you shouldn't buy a Corvette.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
If you're a drummer, don't buy a Corvette or anything like that. But anyway, yeah. High and Dry is one of my favorite albums. I think it was one of the great iconic albums of those times, and still pretty valid to this day. But some of the others on the list, Stevie Nicks, man.
By herself. Ooh.
By herself.
Well,
yeah.
Fleetwood Mac's already in the hall, are they
Fleetwood
not?
Mac's are. Yep, they are. But Stevie Nicks got on her own, and of course she's collaborated with.
So
a lot
she's
of
in
people.
Yes,
she is. That can happen.
Okay. Well,
that can happen. Ask Sammy Hagar.
Right. No,
he's not in on his.
He didn't come in on Van Halen though. They brought Dave in for that, right?
Sammy doesn't matter. He's still in. He's recognized as being in the hall. He's part of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's. I mean, you have to be. Isn't that the way it works? I mean,
I don't know.
You can't just have one version of Van Halen in the Hall of Fame. Can you?
Yeah. So.
I mean, how in the world would a band like Rainbow?
Man, you just opened up a bunch of controversy here that I wasn't prepared for.
How many versions of Rainbow could you possibly have, right? Or Deep Purple, man. I mean, gosh.
So I was. This is interesting because I was following this not too long ago, and I've been tied up with like other stuff lately, but there's a lot of bands that have been inducted over the past 4 or 5 years that have had a lot of turnover. So like Chicago, right? Who has had how many? I mean, the core group is still like there's 4 or 5 guys from the original band, but they've had a lot of like.
Yeah, it's mainly like God, and forgive me for. Is Peter Cetera still with them?
So no. He left in the mid '80s, but
I thought didn't he come back though or something?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
but he was inducted with him. So but they changed lead singers like I said in the '80s.
Sure.
But then you've got bands like Journey who even though Steve Perry left, right? Like there's no way he's not getting in. Right. To the hall with the band. But then if you look at the, I don't think all the members of Chicago got inducted. I think, and there are other bands like that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to follow up on this particular subject and find out how that works.
Who knew, man? We just stepped right.
Yeah.
So this is interesting to me on another level because I came in to today's podcast with a name in my head. Didn't know that you were going to throw this. We sometimes post our news articles and we share them, and Jay can see probably what I'm working on. I'll just save them throughout the week to talk about. But didn't know this was coming. Came to today's podcast with a name in my head, and honestly, I kind of think the theme of the podcast today. You ready for this?
I'm ready, man.
Chuck Berry.
Oh.
Now, Hall of Famer, right? Rock and Roll Hall of Famer.
Right.
We'll get to why in a minute.
Right.
But interesting that you chose our first news topic as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when I came in with Chuck Berry in my head.
Well, I'm thinking, I was thinking more along the lines of the Motown thing.
Yeah. We just have to keep listening and watching and see where it goes.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But so, a few of the other bands. Well, let me just give you the whole list here,
okay.
just to get it over with, because. And I'm going to save the one that I feel, and I'm not saying that it's not, they're not a worthy entertainer, but I just don't feel that that they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But anyway, but you had, like I said, with Def Leppard, Stevie Nicks, those are two, and we know they're both worthy of being in there. Radiohead, love Radiohead. Yeah. Roxy Music, man. Oh,
okay.
Love Roxy Music. And then the Zombies.
Okay.
Also, great band. Janet Jackson. That's the last one. And I mean, I get it. She is a huge and has made huge contributions to music, period. But I don't think that her music is rock and roll.
Okay, but you got to be careful here.
Yeah,
because
okay, I'm listening.
If you don't allow, like a Janet Jackson, stylistically, that kind of a genre,
right?
Then I could easily make the argument that you shouldn't allow somebody like the band. Okay. And I mean, if you first of all, if you don't know who the band is, go back and research that.
And I do.
Because they were instrumental in so many major stars, rock stars that we know today. They were sort of behind that. And there's a movie out actually called The Last Waltz, which I think Martin Scorsese had a part in, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
I might be wrong about that.
But I do know the movie. Yes,
it's a good movie. It's their final concert, and you just nothing but rock star after rock star shows up to participate. Right? So
yeah, pretty amazing.
But you kind of got to go. So like that whole Rhythm Nation and how instrumental it was in sort of changing the face of popular music. Yes. In the 80s. I mean, look, I'd put her in just for the wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl halftime show, right?
Yeah, well, and who was yes, yeah. And who pulled that off?
That was Timberlake. I mean,
a fellow Tennessean. Yeah, he's
right.
from Memphis, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Now Timberlake is,
I see your point.
Well, again, I don't think that she's not worthy of the accolade. I think that she's worthy, very worthy. But I just have a problem with calling something Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when in my opinion it's more of a pop thing. It's not.
Yeah, well, clearly by some of the people that they've inducted before her, they're not going to be as much of a purist about this as maybe you or I would be.
Right. Well, and hey, look. And speaking of rock and roll, and let me throw a plug in. We talked about my dad, who is like our biggest fan. He loves watching these podcasts. Recovering well, by the way.
Good. It was that augmentation surgery. I thought we weren't going to mention that on the air.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad. But anyway, my dad's a musician.
I'm joking.
Yeah. My dad is a musician. Has been for most of his life. And they were pretty big back where we're from. Back in the Southeast, there was a band called Buddy and the Creations. My dad was a collaborator, a writer. He was lead guitar player for the band.
As Johnny Carson would say, I did not know that. I'm not going to try to imitate him.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Let's give it Ed McMahon. Give it your best. Let's give it your best McMahon.
I don't have enough bourbon.
You are correct, sir. That's good. But anyway,
that's bad. All right.
Follow them on YouTube. Actually, they have a YouTube channel out there, Buddy and the Creations.
Oh, I thought you were Ed McMahon has a YouTube channel. Okay.
No, well, I'm sure he does, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where have we gone with this podcast?
Where have we gone? So let's get on to some other news.
All right.
I got a couple of other topics. One, let me give one, then we'll let you slide into one. I found this interesting. GM has taken a lot of heat over the last month because of the shutdowns of these plants, and
recurring theme here, trying to transition away from sedans and trying to figure out what to do with some of those factories while they make that. So they're not. It's not necessarily because they're not doing well. It's because they're trying to change their direction.
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to. In order to stay in the business and stay in the game, GM has to make those changes, just as all of them do. We've spoke about this. Ford's doing it.
Right.
Everybody's doing a little bit of something and trying to get, feel their way around in the dark, if you will. And obviously it's not completely dark to some of those, but some it is because they've gotten in a little late in the game. But GM's taken a lot of heat from the administration for closing some of these these plants down, and I'm not real sure if that was the driving force behind it. I'm going to say not. I'm sure that GM is not watching Twitter to make a determination on what they should do overall. But some people do. But these guys have been studying the market for a long time. So I'm going to give them the credit on this. But they are actually going to produce a new EV in a Michigan plant, the Orion plant that was just recently shut down. And it's going to provide 400 new jobs there. I think their focus was, is to go EV. And overall, based on what I read, they're investing $1.8 billion, and they're planning on adding 700 new jobs in 6 different states. They plan to release 20 new EVs. That's the plan by the year 2023.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's only 4 years. Just put that into perspective, people. That's 4 years from now.
Right. And when as we know, and the part that you're not saying, that I'll say what's in Jay's head. Cars that are going to roll out in 2023, those are on the design floor now. Like their life cycle, their production process to get those to the actual assembly line takes years. This is funny. We were just laughing about this last night in our car. My wife's car, which is a 2017 model year car, and she's driving, and I'm, my son's in the back seat, and I'm like, it's kind of time for these manufacturers to start figuring out a place to put your phone. Because look, nobody gets into the car with a smartphone these days, right? Nobody has one. No, nobody has one of those. But they haven't, there's just no place to put it.
There isn't. Yeah.
In this 2017 Lexus, there is a spot, and it's this big. And I remember the salesman making a joke when we bought the car. He goes, "Yeah, this was supposed to be for your phone." Well, they designed the car back when it was the iPhone 2 or 3G or whatever. And phones have gotten so much bigger now.
Yeah.
It just won't fit in there. So that's
you want me to tell you what's next with this, with all of these electric vehicles coming out. And you mentioned the phone.
Right.
You just released a video on dash cams, which I highly recommend anyone go. You did a great job on that, by the way.
Thanks.
I want to try one of those out myself. I expect that by the year 2023, as part of the standard packaging on a vehicle, because of all the electronics and the integration of smartphones and people using more and more dash cams, that as an option, you'll be able to purchase a vehicle and get a brand new phone and a dash cam with the vehicle.
Well,
it's going to happen.
So a couple thoughts here. When we started doing these podcasts, I was a little hesitant to start talking about EVs, about electric vehicles, because that's not really that's not the world you and I are from, and we're not. This is not the Tesla podcast, right? I mean, we get into some of that because there's no choice anymore. This is where it's going. Ford's we talked about on podcast, I think it was 12, Ford's Spirit of the Mustang Mach EV.
Right.
You're talking about GM now has a plan by 2023 to release a whole slew of them. I mean, this is where it's going. Elon Musk is tweeting about a pickup truck poking fun at Ram for their towing capability this week. And this is a previous podcast that we talked about. So the Tesla's already come with dash cams, right? So again, innovation, leading the industry, pushing the envelope. News came out just this week of a dash cam video from a Tesla shows that the Tesla is steering toward the lane divider. So we had a previous podcast where the guy said it drove right off it split the difference and went right down the middle of the off-ramp. And there was some controversy in that because he said he couldn't regain control of the car. I kind of call nonsense on that. But the fact that the car might be misjudging where it's going, apparently it's happened again. And look, you guys, stop thinking it's only been a year and a half. I'm about to get worked up here. You people that are expecting full autopilot in a car that's made in 2019, you're imbeciles. We're not ready for that yet. We've come a long way in the past 3 or 4 years, but if you think that you can just let that car drive itself and we have that, we're not there yet, man. We're not. Stop blaming the car for not being able to drive itself. We're pushing the limits of what maybe in 4 or 5 years, sure, but we're not there yet. So back to this EV thing, and we've talked about this before. It's innovate or die. GM has a very high cost to produce each automobile they make because it costs GM more than it would say like Nissan, because there's some the benefits that GM has sort of contractually obliged, their employee benefits. It's a right. higher expense per car. I'm not going to get into the whole whether you're for unions or against unions or whatever, but it right. costs them more to make it. So they've got to make smart decisions to manage that. Mm-hmm. They have no choice. It's innovate or die, right? So looking at trying to innovate, trying to retool some of these factories because this is what people want. I think they have no, if they're going to be around in 10 years, they have to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. No, it's good points. And, this is a world that we're in now, guys. And again, you hit the head of the nail. This is not what we intentionally set out to talk about. We want to talk about the industry, but the elephant in the room is the electric vehicle. I mean, hello.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So on this dash cam topic and the phones and all that coming with the cars.
Yeah.
Tesla, we knew this was coming, but this week they released Sentry mode for the Model S, like Sam, and X, like X-Ray. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's on the 3 yet, but Sentry mode is essentially dash cams all around the car with bump detection. If somebody backs into you or breaks into your car, it records that. And we talked about dash cams that you can buy on Amazon having that same capability. So Tesla is already building this equipment into their vehicles, and they are now pushing software updates to enable it. And you know what they used as the icon on their big display? Have you seen this for Sentry mode?
Yes. It's pretty cool, man. You go ahead.
Hal remember the red dot from A Space Odyssey?
Yeah. It's so funny, man, how
he's watching
what
you.
But what's so funny, what we grew up with, man, like the Star Trek stuff, all of this stuff is coming. I mean, they're using this stuff in this modern technology, this AI, this electric vehicle stuff, man. It's all coming. I mean, it's so fun. I keep referring to Star Trek, man, but I am hooked again on the original series.
Well,
sorry, I'm watching it all.
Yeah, well, and there's a new one that
there is,
Patrick
but I'm
Stewart's tied to. No, it's not out yet.
No, it's I know about it. He's announced that he's going to be in it. There's a new movie coming out,
and
with
Jonathan
him.
Frakes is directing it.
Yes,
number one.
I love Patrick Stewart. Hey, man, I love Patrick Stewart. I think he's great. But we're actually watching the original series again, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to pull little pieces out of that are in today's lifestyle.
Life imitates art. Yeah,
it is incredible, man, of where we're at. And man, Gene Roddenberry.
The
guy was so way ahead of his time. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm just trying to decide if I want to step into any. Yeah, let's do. We got time. So here's one that I'm interested in. I seem to be talking a lot about Ford lately, but they're you're a
doing
Ford
some
guy. You're a Ford guy. You like Ford.
I'm not brand loyal.
No, you're not. But look, as a consumer.
Yeah, I got a Ford.
You do your homework, right? So there you go.
So Ford, two things that I thought were cool this week in Ford news were they announced that they are revamping their commercial truck line. So
right,
like I have a 2018 Class A motorhome that sits on a Ford chassis with a V10 gas engine, and that's been like I've got a 99 F250 and it's the same basic platform. It's been tried and true for them. They've used it for a long time. Anything from like U-Haul trucks or commercial moving vans that are running those to your camper vans to big stuff that's pulling 20,000 pounds. I mean, so GM and Chevy just really got out of that market, and they don't have a lot of, and Chrysler got out of it too. I mean, they're just not. They don't have that side, that heavy duty or that commercial side with their big trucks. Yeah. So Ford's doing a couple things to basically update the line, which is, it's probably time. You kind of don't mess with what works, and for almost 30 years they haven't really messed with it, but yeah, they're changing some things, and supposedly it's all around sort of UI and interface and being able to,
That's awesome.
So there's that. So new chassis for all that stuff coming soon.
Cool.
And then a Ford GT became the first street legal car to hit 300 miles per hour in a standing mile. Did you hear about this? It's heavily modified, of course. Yeah. Right?
Obviously, not street legal, of course. But.
So 300 miles per hour is insane. And just to get into a little bit of physics and science, like when you're going that fast, the amount of air downforce, the amount of air force, not Air Force, the military, but the amount of force that you're pushing against is just incredible. And to be able to pull that off in a car, in a street legal car, nonetheless, it's kind of mind bending.
Well, they're calling it street legal, but it's not really. I mean, I think doesn't the government kind of regulate that to where you can't go over a certain mile per hour? Was it recently I saw something?
Oh, right. But the car itself could be driven on the street.
Oh, sure.
Just not at that speed.
Right, but not at that speed. Yeah. So
well,
I mean, there's
legally.
Right.
As someone that has gotten close to 200 miles an hour, and I've done some, racetracks, so don't think I'm out breaking the law or whatever, you get over, you see triple digits, it gets a little scary. Things are moving at you very quickly, quickly. Your reaction time is not going to be enough in most cases to avoid bad things.
Right.
So 300 is just, ugh.
Yeah, pretty crazy, man. I don't want to go that fast in a car. I get over 140. I'm a little tight in the rear end.
Yeah, it's
You
makes you feel like you need a parachute, right?
Unless I've got like a suit on or something that's going to protect me from when that thing falls apart. But
well, I've had that on and it's still scary.
Yeah, it sure is, man. I mean, I praise anybody who gets into a cockpit of a vehicle and goes very, very fast because, I mean, that's crazy. Anyway.
So the big one, I don't know if you were saving this to last or not, and you had mentioned this to me earlier in the week, and I said, "Ooh, let's save this for the podcast." You brought up what's going on with Apple, and they had their big press event this week, and
nope. I was gonna let you go there. With it.
Thanks. So I am actually, I don't want to taint what you have to say about this. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on what they talked about, and I can list the things. So here are the things that they announced, the big ones, right? So they've got a new TV service, kind of similar to a Netflix or a Hulu or an Amazon. It's going to be called Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus, yeah.
They've got a credit card coming out. They've got those were the big ones.
Right.
They've got another service-based. I'll look it up. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're moving more and more and more into that. For lack of a better, lack of words to use here, I'll give the analogy of when you go in to eat sushi and you have the opportunity to choose what you want. I'll have one roll.
Yeah, they call that a menu.
Correct. Yeah, but it's different from. You get to physically pick. There's so much to choose from. So that's where we're at in media today with these streaming services. But what I like about Apple is the fact that I'm an Apple guy, man. I love all of my products are Apple. I have, MacBook, I got iMac, I got iPad, I've got iPhone. And so for me, it's going to work really well across all my devices. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to be releasing. Well, what's real cool is who they have behind them, like Oprah Winfrey, I think
they paraded out a lot of big name Hollywood.
They did. So I'm excited for Apple because I think that they really needed something to kind of help bring people back into their court, if you will, because everybody was kind of stepping away with the phone technology.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to reinvent things. I mean, so now it looks like they're going to focus on the services that they're providing and just make sure that the security is solid, which is the one thing that I do love about those guys is the fact that they are very mindful and they want to work towards a very, very secure environment for any of their users. So I love that.
They're pushing commercials that say as much. So the other one that I couldn't think of was the magazine service, Apple News Plus.
That's right.
So this is interesting. So I'm actually kind of glad that you took that path. It's not often that we disagree on much of anything, and I don't even know that I would categorize this as a disagreement. I'm looking at this through a different lens. Okay, so Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
All right. Legend. Actually, let me back up. It's time for a story, boys and girls. So I grew up in a small town in the Midwest that happened to be also Chuck Berry's hometown. And
rock and roll, man.
When we were in high school, I had a lot of friends that would work, like they'd go work like grounds crew for him or, whatever. And you'd always get stories. And he was very business savvy. Like I was doing some reading before the podcast. He negotiated a lot of his contracts on his own. He had said, like, I think in his autobiography that came out, "Don't let the same dog bite you twice." Kind of a funny little,
Yeah.
But died like his estate was conservatively estimated to be worth $50 million when he died. Negotiated a lot of contracts for himself. Handled more of his own business than most musicians could.
Right.
One of his attorneys said.
Chuck Berry is a very smart, business savvy guy.
So legend has it that Chuck Berry coined a phrase where he would say, "You want the mailbox money."
Okay.
Which means, and this is probably one of the most important life philosophies in business, or business philosophies, that I have ever learned or been exposed to. And that is that you do the work, you want to find a way to have the fruits of your labor repeatedly pay you. Okay?
Right.
Mailbox money. You record a song. 10 years from now, you go to your mailbox, there's a check there from that song. If GM makes a car, they sell that car. Whatever it costs them to produce that car, that's all they can get for their time and expenses. Now, they've developed some recurring revenue models like OnStar where they're getting a monthly, portion of those fees and stuff like that. Yeah. But in general, that's it. If UPS delivers a package for you, they are limited in what their cash flow can be by how many packages they can deliver in any given time frame, whether that's daily or weekly or monthly, right?
Yep.
But when Apple releases, or Netflix, just to a lesser degree, a service that you're paying for, they're going for the mailbox money.
That's right.
Okay. I
just sent them a little mailbox money.
They're getting recently a lot of mailbox money from a lot of people, including me. I mean, they have a music subscription service.
Yep.
I think the thing that disappoints me about this is lack of innovation. So you have, I know what they're doing. I know what you're up to, Tim Cook. I know the game. You were going for mailbox money. Okay?
That's Tim Apple. That's Tim Apple, by the way.
Sorry.
Got to get his last name right.
Now it's smart on their part, right? But what is going on here, in my mind, is their customer is ceasing to be the consumer and has started to be their shareholders, because they've got to win for those shareholders quarter over quarter, year over year. They've got to show revenue. iPhone sales are dropping. This is no surprise to anybody. We've talked about this. They are, and I believe so. Okay, so back when Apple innovated, you had the iMac, and then maybe you want to do the flat panel iMac. Sure, that was a pretty innovative step. You had the iPhone. After that, you had the iPad. Before those two, you had iTunes, which did create a little bit of mailbox money, and that was smart. But they didn't move into that world and stay there. They developed the iPhone after iTunes. They developed the iPad after iTunes. The watch, love it or hate it, whatever.
Yeah.
But it
worked. I mean, it works for some.
They have kind of become a Me Too company, and there's no innovation. I mean, you're never going to convince me that Apple TV Plus is a new concept. They're just copying what Netflix has been doing.
Well, and that's what I said, initially, is they're getting in late in the game, but I do feel for them, it is a way to keep their loyal
Well, sure. They're remonetizing an existing customer base. They're going back into that well to pull more cash out of it. And
that's right.
Look, if it works for them, good for them. As someone who loves innovation, and we spend a huge amount of time on this podcast talking about all the cool innovation. I mean, we just did for the past, they're not innovating. Okay,
No,
so this
not.
credit card thing, this I have an enormous amount of professional experience with that industry. I can't talk today, apparently, but so this is a skim. Okay, this is how they're making money and they learned this from Apple Pay on your phone.
Yep.
So let me explain to you people watching or listening how that works for them. When you take that credit card, or you take your phone and you use Apple Pay, or use Android Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever you're using, they're getting 10 cents, 5 cents, whatever, of that transaction in service fees back to them as a gateway. Okay,
right.
Meaning they're the guy that securely transmits the transaction from Visa or MasterCard or American Express to the banks or to the merchant. And they're getting a nickel or whatever off that. Okay, well, that's not a lot of money, but when you think about the thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people that are running transactions on that every day, it's hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars a month in revenue for them.
Yep,
that's a lot of
money. Makes
money.
Complete sense. It's good.
So
it's
now
like,
what do? You give everybody that loves your product a credit card. You make it look cool, and now you're making more than a nickel. You're making like 1% off of every time that card gets used. Right?
Yep.
That's a lot of money in revenue. And what have they done in innovation?
Nothing.
This is letting somebody else do the work. You want to open a TV studio? Great. You hire a great team of producers. You hire tons of great talent. They've already shown us they're doing that.
Yeah.
You let them do the heavy lifting, and you get the mailbox money.
Yep.
It's smart. I'm just PO'd because there's no innovation there.
Well,
that's a rookie move.
Yeah, and all I'm hoping for is that, obviously this was intentional, but they've got bigger plans down the road.
I hope so.
And I'm hoping for their sake, because I am a big fan of Apple, and I do really want to see the next big thing.
But where is that magic?
I hope they watch our podcast.
Where is that magic? Yeah, well, it's on their service.
It is.
Where is that magical sort of the thing that people love, those product releases, those unveilings where it's something life-altering, right? Like Steve Jobs used to say, insanely great, right?
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore.
You got it.
So... yeah, good for them, and they're going to make tons of money on this, and the shareholders will be happy, and that's all great, but they're not pushing the envelope anymore. So they've apparently taken a page out of Chuck Berry, which, in business, that's the way to maximize your return. If you can find a way to get that mailbox money, you're going to be set like Chuck Berry. Maybe not quite as much as he made, but you'll make more than you would if you were selling widgets at one a pop, right?
Right. Absolutely. Can you do me a favor, man? While we're speaking of technology and how far advanced it is these days, would you do me a favor and just pick up your phone real quick and see if we are actually synced up to that satellite that gives us the right time, to see if we're actually, I know we're not on the same zone,
Yeah.
but to see if we're exact. And mine just flipped over. I want to see how close it is.
I'm
You
at
got yours right
03
there?
after the hour.
That's me. We're right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Is there some secret something going on behind this that I don't know about? All right. So we have had a technical glitch. We're going to keep rolling. And Jay has left me. Hopefully he'll be back. And Jay, if you can hear me, there you are. I lost you there
I'm
for
back.
a second.
I lost you. You froze. Yeah. So you're gonna have to splice that.
And I punched the mic.
Fixed? Technology.
Well, as we've learned from previous podcasts, anything can be fixed in post, right?
Right. You saw your phone though. The
What?
text.
Hang on. No. Yeah, you were trying to speak to me in code, and I didn't see it. I've got mine muted for podcasting purposes. I'm watching our signal strength though, and it's getting better. So let's do this. We've never done this before in a podcast. We'll call this almost like a little commercial break here. And
but before we go, I do have one more news topic.
Okay.
Can I speak
of
about
course.
that real quick?
I'm all ears.
And then we'll do that. We'll
if
pause.
If it has anything to do with Chuck Berry, I'm pretty sure end times are.
It really doesn't have anything to do. Well, maybe it does in a roundabout way because of the Chuck Berry reference and the respect that he was paid in Back to the Future.
Right.
And the fact that that's awesome. And so you'll get where I'm going with this as soon as we start talking about it. Did you see the new Lexus UX that came out, the John Elliott edition?
My son is all over it, but I don't know much about it. My 9-year-old is like.
So John Elliott obviously is a fashion designer and has his, sneakers, and he just designed the sneakers for the Air Force One sneakers for Nike.
Right.
Hello, Nike. Hello. And if you haven't seen an image of this car, you need to take a look at it. So the tires on this thing represent the Air Force One shoes by Nike. So the tires actually look like the soles of the shoe.
Okay.
They're all white. The car is whited out. Looks like it's actually in ice.
Okay.
And it's funny. It's impractical. They'll never be sold, obviously, for a couple of reasons. First of all, you get a white tire out on the pavement, it won't be white within 5 miles. Secondly, the tread design on there, they were not interested in saying, hey, guy, why don't you come up with a tire that looks like your shoe, but let's make it practical so that maybe we can offer it as a tire that we can sell on the car.
Right.
They're not going to be able to sell the tire that way either. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting.
Well, UX is their electric. Is it all electric or is it a hybrid?
It's a hybrid, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think it's an all.
This is when I need my 9-year-old in here to educate me.
Actually, well, hold on. I have it up here. If you give me just another second here, I think I can help you with this.
All right.
I really do. Yeah, power output. No, it's all electric. No, actually, no, it's not. It is a hybrid. They have an all gas, and they also have a hybrid. It's a 2-liter engine. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, but why go to Nike on this, man? I'm thinking if I'm trying to attract a certain crowd out there, why not go to Vans? I mean, Vans, man. I mean, who do they attract, right?
Yeah, but I think Nike has a bit broader market reach, and they looked at Nike's recent sort of popularity. And so remember a couple of podcasts back when we were talking about how to solve Chrysler's sales problem, and when I said they need to do some co-branding kind of stuff with like do a Marvel, Captain America Jeep or something. This is what Toyota or Lexus is doing. They're doing a co-branding project to sell. It's going to create interest. It's going to sell a few more, cars, and they're going to that's smart, right? Now, whether it's Vans
Well,
or
sure it
Nike
is.
or whatever, that's up to their marketing people. But the fact that they're willing to step into that arena, it's innovation.
Yeah. It is innovation.
I mean, it's been done for years, but it's
and they came out with a marketing strategy along with the promo, which was pretty smart. I thought it was clever.
Yep.
But some of the stuff obviously are impractical. You'll never see anything like that go to production. But it is what it is. The whole idea is to gain interest in the car, and the model, and how they're marketing it, and to gain new people, new customers.
Yep.
And I guess Nike was their choice of culture. It's a part of culture. I mean, it's
a very recognizable brand. Yep.
Absolutely. And they haven't come without controversy in recent months, but that's kind of one of the other reasons why I kind of found it interesting that they went there. But it is what it is.
And there is the philosophy that all news is good news, or no news is bad news.
Pretty much. People are talking about them. Yeah. Here we are talking about them. So it worked.
All right, let's do this.
So there.
First time, let's take a little intermission kind of, and we're going to get back to the core topic of today's podcast, which is here. You want to tease this? What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about washing your car. As simple as that. But it's not really that simple, guys. So just be prepared. We'll be back in a short second, and we're going to tell you the do's and the don'ts, and then offer up some recommended solutions to use and those sorts of things. And it'll be a fun topic. You ready?
Yeah. All right. Right after this.
Okay. You got it. See you.
All right. So while we're in this brief intermission, everybody, I want to take a minute to remind you that where to find us. We have a YouTube channel where you can watch our video podcast. We also have a video podcast on Apple, which is, I think, called Apple Podcast now. They've moved away from iTunes. We have the audio version also available on iTunes, and if you're on the Android side, we have there's almost a dozen different locations. If you go to our website, which is what, Jay?
www.partscountergurus.com.
There it is. We have a podcast links page, and it lists all the different ways you can find us for the podcast. And you might think, well, I already have, I'm watching this or I'm listening to it. Why do I need that? Well, here's why. Because to help us get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's right. 1,000.
We need your help. And it would be a huge help to us if you tell a friend.
1,000.
What is it? How many?
1,000.
Oh, right. Yep. There you go. See, this is what details, man. That's why I got to have a guy like Jay around.
Yeah.
Because I clearly am not capable of doing half this stuff on my own without stepping on something. But yes,
I don't know.
Thank you. Please tell a friend. Please send a friend to that podcast links page and get them to sign up. Subscribe on YouTube. That would be a huge help to us. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it allows us to do some things like to monetize our videos, right? So to allow advertisers to put content. Actually, they're going to put content on them whether we're there or not, but we get nothing from it until we reach a certain threshold. So be a huge help to us. If you're already subscribed, thank you very much. And tell a friend. If you are watching this podcast and you don't like it, as I always like to say, we'll just tell an enemy. And and
we'll get them to join too. Yeah.
If you work somewhere where people tend to leave their computers unlocked, go around and just subscribe on YouTube to our YouTube page. To every one of those guys, just to, who knows? They may learn something.
Hey, you know what? I just thought of something. We were talking about this moments ago. Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, we kicked on that a little bit, right?
Yeah, well, our podcast may be streamed on that at some point.
Well, you can get it right now on an Apple TV.
Yes, you can. However, with the Apple TV Plus streaming service, there may be an end there for us.
I smell what you're cooking.
We'll see what's happening. Yeah. We're going to try to get every platform we can possibly find and make it easy for you guys to enjoy us. And remember, Keith said, subscribe. We can't monetize anything without your help. And the reason we want that is so that we can bring you more content and do more things for you guys. Travel a little bit, maybe hit a few remote locations that we can go out and Keith and I can meet in the middle of the country somewhere. Go out to the desert somewhere, or go out to the salt flats and do a.
Yeah,
that would actually be cool.
It does. It helps offset the production cost. Putting these things out there is not free, and we want to do it. As much full time as we can, and there are just certain things that YouTube won't let you do, or Google, who owns YouTube, won't let you do until you get to a certain threshold, and it sort of unlocks those things, like change our channel name, stuff like that. So thank you. Please tell a friend, and yes. Continue to listen. If you're already a subscriber and you've got an idea for what you want to hear, what you want us to talk about, there's a page on our website called Ask Us a Question. You can go to that. Here, we'll put a link. We'll put a link up here to it.
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah. Over. Wait a minute. Over there.
And you can hit us up, and we'd love to hear from you.